What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be discussing some key takeaways in relation to our first preseason game between the Chicago Bulls and between the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, unfortunately, we walked away with the loss in that game, our very first game, and it was a frustrating watch, but also a very compelling watch, an interesting watch, and one I'd recommend, especially in the second half, that Bulls fans will go and watch. However, there were some positive and negative key takeaways to take away from the game, going more based on non-basketball issues just as much as maybe the game reaction that I made a couple of hours ago. So I'll take a deeper dive into some of them, but before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about your certain key takeaways you would bring out of this game between the Pelicans and the Chicago Bulls. Maybe it's on the Pelican side. Maybe you want to talk about how good the Pelicans actually played, because I want to give them a lot of credit for how they played. I actually really enjoyed the New Orleans Pelicans game. If that was a neutral game and I was watching and I wasn't a Bulls fan, I would have really thought, man, the Pelicans played really, really well, and they're not even at full strength. So look, you got to be respectful where respect comes. The Pelicans played great basketball, and maybe that's probably the first key takeaway you want out of this situation. But I'm going to take more of a deeper dive into the Chicago Bulls thing, because this is obviously a Bulls channel. So the first thing I want to talk about is the situation around Coby White. Very, very important key takeaway here, because you might be wondering, Coby White only played around 2 minutes and 50 seconds of that game. And you're probably wondering why Coby White was playing that little amount of time. I know a lot of people during the game were wondering why, and it has come out a few hours ago that Coby White did actually sustain an injury. Now, the frustrations of injuries often occur around Chicago Bulls fans. We hate the idea, we hate the word, we hate everything about injuries. But fortunately, it seems to be a very minor injury. It seems like Coby White has suffered a thigh contusion. Now, contusions happen all the time in the NBA. Usually it's knee contusions and stuff like that. It doesn't seem to be too serious. It actually came out as a quote as well, that if this was a regular season game, Coby White would probably have gotten back into that game and be ready to play. But since it's a preseason game, there was no need to kind of rush into it. There was no need to force him to play when he wasn't necessarily feeling it, or he did end up getting hurt. So I kind of respect the decision to rest Coby White. I do think we'll see Coby White throughout the rest of the regular season games. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't. If it is a minor injury, you'd probably expect Coby White to play after a couple days rest. But all things considered, even if it isn't a couple days rest, he should be ready within a couple of weeks' time. So I'm very, very positive about that. Thankfully, it's nothing serious. Of course, you're going to see injuries throughout the Bulls team. We're not invincible. We've seen that last year. We'll see it again this year. But as long as they're minor injuries and they come back within a couple weeks, even a couple days, that's a really, really good sight to see. And it will kind of bring us more stability in that lineup, especially off of our bench as well, because I do think we kind of missed a lot of that bench scoring. But we'll move on into the next one, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of Coby White playing a few minutes, Zach Levine only played a half of basketball yesterday as well. He did not play the second half of that game. Zach Levine came out with a quote saying, "I just want to work my way into it. Obviously coming off the knee, I've been feeling really good and don't want to put any extra stress on there when I don't need to. Felt good to get up and down. I feel fine. I want to keep it that way." So Zach Levine basically taking a little bit of precaution since he did have a knee injury. I'm a little bit nervous about this one compared to the Coby White one. Obviously, because we kind of saw Coby White's injury, Zach Levine's injury is a long sustaining injury that he had surgery on, and he's supposedly 100%. Now, when I think of 100%, I think of a guy that's going to play very similar minutes to the rest of the starting lineup. Everybody in that starting lineup played more than Zach Levine. So again, it's an executive decision by the Bulls and by Zach Levine to not play that second half. But if he was truly 100% healthy, I would have thought he would have at least played some elements in that second half. So I'm a little bit more nervous towards this one. Maybe there's something that we just don't know about with Zach Levine, but I'm going to keep my faith and keep my optimism that, look, it just is what it is. That's exactly what we saw. Zach Levine is still 100%. He's still ready to be 100% healthy for the regular season, and he just wants to take certain precautions to make sure nothing changes from that. Maybe that's just the only reason, but again, it is something to bring your attention to. Another thing that I actually found very questionable and something I really don't like from the Chicago Bulls is that we saw everybody play in this Bulls game against the Pelicans. Pretty much everybody that wasn't injured. But we did not see Marko Siminovic play this game. The only guy that didn't get a single minute against the New Orleans Pelicans was Marko Siminovic, and I'd really like to know why. Was there something going on with Marko prior to the game? Maybe he is injured and I didn't know about it. I'd really like to know, for my own sake, why Marko Siminovic did not get a single minute in that game. Why he got no garbage time minutes, why he was sitting there on the bench and celebrating or things like that. Look, if Marko wasn't there, fair enough. If Marko was hurt, fair enough. But from my understanding, I haven't seen anything suggesting that Marko was hurt or injured. And I'm pretty sure Marko was at the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, fair enough. We can move on from this point completely. But I'm pretty sure he was there, and I'm pretty sure he wasn't injured. So why did he not get any game time? If there's nothing wrong with Marko and he simply just did not get any game time because they prioritize other people, look, I understand we have two-way contract spots that need to be filled. I understand we want to see who's going to be right for those two-way contract spots. But you've got a player in Marko Siminovic that arguably had the second best, if not the best, Summer League experience out of all those guys that played ahead of him. And the fact that he got no minutes is very, very frustrating. So I'm hoping, for my sake, that there is something wrong with Marko, that he was minorly injured or that he just wasn't there or something like that, where I can kind of excuse the fact we didn't see him. But that is extremely upsetting to know that Marko got no game time when every single other guy did. And I get it. There's only limited minutes. Not everybody can play. But I thought Marko deserved more minutes than some of the other guys that actually got on from this team. So very disappointing there. And hopefully that's not something we're going to see in the future as well. But again, if there is something that happened to him, please let me know, because I'm unaware of it. And maybe there was just something there that I simply did not know about. Let's move into some of the positives. I thought Dalen Terry's debut didn't get enough credit compared to what it probably should have. Now, I really liked Dalen Terry's performance. I said even in the game reaction, I absolutely loved how he went about the game. And in my opinion, he's going to make it very difficult for Billy Donovan to not use this player. Now, at the end of the day, we knew from the very beginning that he said he's going to bring his defense to the NBA level. He believes his defense will be the one thing that carries over from the college game to the NBA. And so far, that has proven to be true. Now, it's just preseason. But that's where you got to make your point known. If you're Dalen Terry, you have to prove yourself in preseason to get regular season minutes. If you want to be proven as trustworthy, you've got to earn it every step of the way. You got to earn it in the summer league. You got to earn it in training camp. You got to earn it in preseason. You got to make the Bulls coaches believers. That's something that's always going to have to be the case with every single team. You're not going to get minutes if the coach doesn't believe you can do it, if the coach doesn't believe you're trustworthy. So Dalen Terry has taken a huge step, in my opinion, to prove he is trustworthy from the coaching staff. And obviously the fans absolutely loved it as well. And they already love what he brings to the table. So I'm really, really intrigued to see how his next game is going to go and the games after that. If he works as hard as he did from this Pelicans game to the Nuggets game to the Raptors game and all the way to the Bucks game, I think he should be a shoo-in to play and get really meaningful minutes out of this situation. And maybe he could be that Ayo Dosunmu story where Ayo got little to no minutes becoming a starter on this team and he started our first preseason game. Maybe Dalen Terry can have a similar story and people will be proven wrong about him once again, which is something I'd absolutely love to see. So congratulations on that good performance from Dalen Terry. It is only one game, and no need to get carried away over it, but I'm really, really intrigued to see what he could do in the next one, and I thought he was a massive takeaway out of this game. Another takeaway that I saw is obviously the starting lineup and the bench unit from the first half came out very, very slow. Now, training camp is a very interesting time because at the end of the day, it's all about fitness. It's all about who works harder. It's all about, I guess, the levels that you're at. And clearly, the Pelicans were at the same game time as the Chicago Bulls. They didn't play a game before this. That was their first preseason game. Came out and looked at a different level in the first half. It was men amongst boys. It was G League to NBA level. That's kind of what it felt like in the first half. We were doing very basic mistakes, very, very basic errors, while the Pelicans were dishing the ball left, right, and center. Their bench production just massively destroyed our bench production, and it felt like a really uneven battle. So these key takeaways are important because Maybe this is an indication that the Bulls need to work harder in training camp, so we could be the team that does that to other teams who are not on our level. I'm hoping that's going to be the case. I'm hoping they take away from this that we need to provide more energy in games. This was a home game for the Chicago Bulls as well. Let's not take anything away from that. This was at the United Center in front of our home crowd, and we really got energetic by the third and fourth quarters when we felt the momentum shift. I really want to see the Bulls kind of get the starting of the game correct. I want to see us start strong and finish strong. I want to see 4 quarters of basketball being played. And I know it's hard to ask considering there are a lot of rotations, a lot of people getting a lot of minutes, and you're not going to see the amount of people play in the regular season like you do in the preseason. But I do feel like the main guys of this team didn't necessarily have that energy that I would have liked coming into this game. That might be a personal opinion, a personal critique. Maybe people see it differently, and that's completely okay as well. But one of the key takeaways I'd like to see for the Chicago Bulls is from the very beginning of the game, play with energy. And we've seen Billy Donovan, I guess, talk about starting different point guards in different games. I think the next game, look, I don't personally think we should be starting different point guards in 4 different games. But if we're going to do it, I'd like to see Alex Caruso start the next game just to see if the energy is going to be the issue, what we could do about that. And Caruso is someone that will bring energy. So we'll see what happens from that retrospect. But all things considered, those are the key takeaways that I wanted to talk about that wasn't necessarily in the game reaction. A couple of injury updates that we took away from the Pelicans game, unfortunately. A very positive in Dalen Terry that I thought I probably didn't talk about enough, and I really thought it was a good emphasis of how strong his debut actually was. And obviously I'd like to see the energy improve, which is something I probably mentioned in the game reaction, but wanted to specify a little bit more in this video. That's all I really have to say. Again, it is just preseason. I really don't care about the wins and the losses. I care about how we play. And the first half, considering that most of those guys are going to be playing on this team, that was a bit of a worry. It was a bit of a concern, and it's definitely something we're going to have to overcome. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Hopefully we see a better improved performance against the Denver Nuggets. We're going to need to. We're going to walk away with a win from that game. But just for our own progression of our team, win or lose, I just want to see improved performance from the start to the finish of the game. I don't want to see us down by 20 points in the first half and having us fight back. I don't want to be that team. We've seen a couple of those teams already and how they end up progressing throughout their season. I don't want that to be our team. So we'll wait and see if we could be on the other side of things, and maybe we could be the one controlling the game for the most part. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.